While Dragon Riding and Griffon are very similar, but also very different. Both are fun, but for very different reasons. Griffon is very realistic, has a lot of weight to it. There's so many reasons to be in a Gw2 open world that whenever you use it, you feel like an actual god flying hacking through the game. Dragonflying though might not have the same realistic sensations, but it's also very fun. You just take off and go fast. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about fucking up and running into a branch and just absolutely get memed. You can just rest a bit and just go instantly as fast as before by getting all your vigor back. And if you really want to go fast, just go to the races and do some insane fast-paced flying. Today we'll talk about the difference between both of them, the disadvantages and advantages, and how they work. And of course, which one is better. First, very important, immersion. Dragonflying sacrifices immersion to make the flying aspect easier and more convenient. You can just instantly go very high and very fast, especially with all the talents, and maintain your speed constantly unless you fuck up very hard on a branch or something. This is very fun, and you don't really have to worry about anything. Just go fly, and wherever you need to go. Griffon is not quite like this. You'll have to find a cliff to go down to get speed, or go into a hill and use your Springer to get altitude and then go down with your Griffon to gain the speed you need. This of course makes it more realistic and more meaningful when you get your speed, but it's definitely more work and kind of annoying a few times, right? You can also get memed by not doing it right and get straight into the floor, losing all your speed and having to do it again, which is it doesn't feel good at all. It's also worth mentioning that there's a lot of other Gw2 mounts, so they can't really make the Griffon very OP, otherwise you would never have any other reason to go to, you know, use your Springer or your Raptor or your Skyscale or whatever. It has to have some, you know, disadvantage to it in order to use the other ones, right? Another big point is the way the mounts move. In Dragonflying, you use your mouse to move it, and it instantly responds to wherever you move. It doesn't really have a lot of weight to how the dragon moves though. It just kind of like teleports around to wherever your mouse goes. It doesn't have a lot of weight to it. It just feels kind of wrong and not natural at all. Although it's very convenient, and you will never have the problem like, oh, you know, my mouse, you know, you'll never have the problem like my dragon didn't move the way I wanted to, because I mean, it's just gonna do it, right? Griffon is the complete opposite. You can use WSD or your mouse to move, and you can feel how the buttons when you press it, or the mouse how you move it, and the Griffon moving with it too, right? You can feel perfectly the way it just moves around and reacts to your movements and your button pressing. This gives you a very good sensation and very immersive sensation, but also it's way harder to use, and you can fuck up your movement and hit a branch or something by doing it wrong, and you will have to, you know, learn how to do it. And that's the biggest thing on Griffon riding, learning how to move it in order to get very fast and not get hit by something and still maintain your speed. Speaking of speed, Griffon and Dragon riding do them very differently. Griffon maintains their speed. It's not really that they, you know, have boosts of speed, so they get even faster every few seconds. It just maintains the big speed after you get, you know, after you get your height and you dive down in order to get your big speed. You'll maintain this one forever, right? Until you hit something, or until you're, you know, you hit the ground and you can no longer move, right? It makes it feel like you're very fast and you can barely control your mount, which is pretty fun. Dragons, though, even though they do maintain their speed a bit, they burst forward every few seconds whenever you press your button, right? You'll run out of vigor, though, and eventually run out, but you'll maintain yourself going very fast from time to time, recover your speed, recover your vigor, and then going back very fast again as well, right? This makes it like a very like, you know, Griffon, it always like feels like you're just going fast all the time, but WoW is a bit, I think sometimes a bit more rewarding, because, you know, like you're going down and then you're going not as fast, but then boom, you go fast, and then you're going slower and then you boom, go fast. It's very enjoyable to do, and I think actually Griffon could take a bit for that. They can definitely make a mastery actually that gives you a little bit of a boost, so you have the same sensation that you have in Dragonflight with dragons, but also maintain the same kind of good things that the Griffon has without, you know, losing their you know, their weight they have on their controls that are very good. The only way you can maintain your big speed on dragons is by doing races, which are very nice, because whenever you're doing them, you get a lot of buffs. Essentially, you get this little like green orbs that give you more vigor in order to surge forward again to maintain your top speed that you can honestly in open world you can never maintain for a long time. And you can also get these little wind thingies, these wind little consumables that are in the air that you can go through them, and you'll boost forward without you actually using the vigor, so you can maintain your speed at all times with a very, very high pace kind of race, which is not doable in Gw2 at all, and is very, very intense, very, very fun, kind of hard to do, especially because you're gonna have to move your mouse very, very fast in order to not hit anything and still maintain the course of your race. But it's very, very fun. And I'm kind of impressed on how good they did, and they wouldn't have been able to do it without the movement they have on Dragonflight, because it's so high paced. Then if you had the Griffon movement, you wouldn't. It would be insanely hard to actually do the types of movements they want to do. Of course, if they had that type of movement, the races would have been designed in a different way. But the very, very high pace kind of racing is very, very fun and very, very different than what we have in Gw2. In Gw2, it's just the races we have are essentially go fast and maintain the speed, this constant very high speed, and trying to not hit anything because of the way the Griffon movement is. Essentially, it's saying like, I know the Griffon movement is hard and it's very enjoyable. Try and do this in the fastest pace you can, in order to get the gold medal on this race. That's essentially Gw2. It's not bad, but it could be way, 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 way better by learning a bit of what that WoW does in in these races. I think they definitely have a lot to learn and a lot to do here. Now, speaking of the secondary stuff, that is not really that much important, but it still is. Your wings and everything, by unlocking these things and putting them in your dragons, I think it's very, very nice. Sure, Gw2 had dice, but WoW also has dice, and WoW also has more skins, and I wouldn't say better skins, but definitely you don't have to buy them in the store, which you have to do in Gw2. Now, sure, Gw2 is not a sub-game, it's a buy-to-play game, so they kind of have that going for them, and you can always buy them in gold and whatever. But it's very nice that WoW has ways of earning them in a very, you do this race and you'll get this customization or this skin, which is pretty nice. Another thing that's kind of important is custom races. Now, Gw2 has this by people doing guild halls and decorating them in a way that they create a new Griffon race that they design themselves, and that's very, very cool. But honestly, because we don't have the same kind of mechanics as WoW has with the boosts and stuff, it definitely has way less potential until they change that. Sure, with beetle racing we actually get those little orbs that actually give you a boost of speed, but that's because the roll beetle works that way, and eventually it would be nice to have that happening as well. I hope they do change that, so we can have those little thingies, those little customizations, in order for us to make our own races, because we know that Arena don't have time to get those little and the resources to get all those races going in. They get inspired by this beautiful Dragonflight races and do them. I hope also that WoW implements their own way of doing custom races. I don't know what they would do, but I hope they do. I mean, it would be a missed opportunity otherwise. And they already have most of the things already done, right? They just need to let us, do them somewhere, And for last thing, open world. I think open world in WoW is getting way better, and the Griffon and the dragons definitely work. But I struggle to think that it will last long because of how the Dragonflying works, and because it's kind of so OP. I feel like people are gonna get very bored. I think people are gonna get very bored of it fairly soon, because there's not really fail state. You always anytime you're in the open world, you're just gonna soar through, go up, go very fast, and you're never gonna really have any problems navigating anything. I think it's gonna end up being essentially a previous flying mount that we used to have, but just faster. That's what's gonna end up doing. I think people are gonna figure out a way to AFK on them regardless, because the talents are very, very good. And you'll never run out of vigor. So that kind of scares me a bit, and also because of how the WoW open world works, there's not a lot you're gonna do, right? You're just gonna Go in your dragon, go to the next world boss or event, get out, do it, again, I go on to the next one, right? That's just, it is what it's gonna be, and you're never gonna have to traverse any very hard places to get there. So I don't see Dragonflying being as impactful as it should, and as it has potential to be. Now maybe I'm wrong, and maybe something will change, but this is what I'm thinking, kind of what worries me about. Now in Guild Wars 2, this is never gonna be the case because of how the maps are developed and how they are done. Griffon will always have a place because we're always in the open world doing metas, doing map completion, everything. So it's very, very impactful every time. And even if you don't use it, and even if you don't use the Griffon, you have the other mounts as well. So it's I don't think it's ever gonna be a problem, right? You always feel like whenever you're doing the Griffon, you're always gonna feel like, you know, you're kind of hacking the game, going so fast, and you know, and being able to get there from one point to another one very, very fast with no problem, right? Conclusion about the video: which is one's better? Honestly, both are pretty great. Honestly, both are pretty great. But I do think I have an answer for you. I think Dragonflying is way, way, way better in terms of racing, but way, way, way worse in terms of open world. I think Griffon shines in open world because Guild Wars 2 shines in open world, and Dragonflying shines in the races because they're just made for those races that they did, and it's absolutely great. And I think both can learn from each other and become, honestly, just different sides of the same coin in terms of like very, you know, in terms of very, very good mounts for different types of games, but at the same time very, very good ones in both ways, right? I think Griffon can take the races from Dragonflight very, very easily. Just get a boost and you'll get some great races, and WoW just needs to get a bit of more impact in the way the open world works for it, and make it a bit less OP, I think, so you can you actually have to engage like most of the time and not just completely AFK flying around very fast, because I can definitely see that being the case in a few weeks when people really get accustomed to how the Dragonflying works. Because let me just tell you that I'm doing that right now. I'm just, you know, I boost, I go very, very high, boost very, very fast, and go to where I have to go. Just I don't even pay attention. So let me know what you think about it. Tell me down below, comment below, and see you around. Follow me on Twitch for more meta trains in Guild Wars 2, and you know, 20 gold per hour, even more, maybe 30 gold per hour if you're lucky, and if you do the improve favor thing. Otherwise, it's still very good gold and it's very much fun. So follow me on there. See you guys around. Bye bye.